In the subject of personal financial planning, today I'll be talking about management of spending and financial discipline. The subject itself has become very important these days because the cost of living is increasing. The aspirations of the people is increasing, so is the expenditure. So in this world where the aspiration is increasing, your standard of living is increasing, what you are required to do is that you have to be strict financial discipline so that you can manage your personal finances in an effective manner. See, there are two important things. One is called the inflows, the other is called outflows. When you talk of the management of spending and financial discipline, the inflows means that what you get as an income, what you get as a form of cash and in kind. You get income from various sources, you get cash inflows from various sources. And similarly, there are many heads under which you spend your money, which is known as cash outflow. So cash inflows means where does our cash come from, and cash outflow means where does our cash go. In our day-to-day life, these things, inflows and outflows, is a regular process. So by keeping a check on our cash outflows, we may be able to monitor our spending and allocate some amount towards saving. What is required is that you must manage your finances effectively so that whatever your monetary goals are, you are able to meet your monetary goals. Your monetary goals may be your children's education, your own marriage, your higher education. If you're a student of undergraduation level, you want to pursue higher education. These days, because of many private institutes have come up, even the higher education in India has also become expensive. So your financial goal can be, you want to set aside a sum of money for your higher education, right? It may be for your marriage purpose. If you have start earning, right, your marriage can be the goal. Means on marriages, on social occasions, we spend a large sum of money. Your own children's education, buying a house, buying a good car, and even your retirement planning can be the financial goals, monetary goals. So these financial goals you are able to achieve when you control your outflows in a manner so that your inflows are larger than your outflows. I'm not saying on a month-to-month basis, in a longer run. If you talk in yearly terms, if you talk in the slightly longer terms, when your inflows are larger than your outflows, when you're able to manage your outflows in a manner so that your inflows are greater than your outflows, certainly you can make some savings. So if you're able to keep a check on your expenditure, that is cash outflow, the whatever money it is remaining, right, after your expenditure, that becomes your savings. So for working people, salary is the main source of cash inflow. The question is, where from the cash inflow will come? If I'm a salaried employee, my regular salary or my salary which I get from my employer, that is my cash inflow. Apart from my regular income in form of salary, I may be having cash inflows from various sources. If I've made some investment in the equity market, I will be getting dividends, right? So dividend can be my source of inflows. If I've invested in banks, that is in form of fixed deposit and the saving deposits, or if I've invested in some debt funds, my interest income can be the source of income for me, source of inflows for me. If I have some property which I have let it out, my rental property means my rent income can be a source of income. In this way, you can create, other than your salary, other form of inflows. And gradually, as you improve your savings, as you increase your savings, certainly you will able to generate extra income from your investments. Warren Buffett, the great Warren Buffett, who always talks about the finance, he always says that every individual must create a second source of income. When I say second source of means that other than what you're getting, suppose I'm a businessman, I'm getting an income from the business. But apart from the business, as we all know, there are cycles in the business, there are ups and downs in the business. So what should I do is that apart from my business income, I should create a separate source of income which can give me to some certainty some amount of income. As I said, it may be in form of my interest income if I have deposited the money in the fixed deposit or the saving deposits. If I have invested in the equity market, it can be my dividend income. So in case I'm not able to generate good profits in a business in a particular year because of the business cycle, because of the economic cycle, because of any reason, international reason or national reason, from other source I can get some source of inflows. So friends, it's very important to create a second source of income for yourself to able to make good financial planning, right? So your rental income can be the good source, your dividend income, your interest income, income from mutual funds. These days the mutual fund also, there are certain plans in the mutual funds where if you invest in the mutual funds, they will give you a regular income from your investments in a regular intervals. So these can be the different source of income for you, cash inflows for you. Similarly, there are different heads under which the cash outflows takes place. It may be small expenses, it may be large expenses. So cash outflows are in the form of expenses. Expenses will include both large and some small money, right? Small money means on day-to-day expenditure which you make for buying groceries, for paying our transportation bill, for paying bills for our utilities like telephone, water, electricity, right? So all these utilities for which we avail our services, like all of us have the mobile phones. So the mobile phones, there is a regular recharge which we have to make. For our electricity we have to pay, right? So for transport also, especially in a big city, if you are living in a large city, the transport expenses is also a reasonable sum of money which you have to spend regularly on the petrol if you are having your own vehicle, or if you are using the public transport, there is a regular expenses in form of the buying the tickets or the card which you buy, right? So on all these you have to incur expenses. So grocery can be a good sum of money people spend on small expenses. What is small, what is large? It depends on individual's income, right? A person who is in the rich class bracket, he spends a very small amount or she spends a very small amount on groceries, right? But a person of the lower income group person, a poor person or a small income person of a small income, right? They spend a large sum of money on the groceries itself, right? So depending on your level of income, the proportion of expense which you will make in a particular head, that will also be dependent on your level of income. As your income increases, right, your expenditure on groceries, on clothing and these things do not increase in the same proportion in which your income increase. We saw these the expenditure are not income elastic, right? They are to some extent, I will not use the word perfectly elastic, but there are some less elastic as compared to other things. Then you spend, as your level of income increases, you start spending on luxuries and many other things. Anyway, so on these items which are called the routine day-to-day affairs, we incur small expenses. Similarly, you may be incurring expenditure on paying rent if you are living in a rented house, for buying a car, paying your monthly installments. These days, especially when the banks are giving consumer credit, personal credit on a very easy terms and conditions, these days, very large section of the people, the moment they start earning, supposing they buy a house or they buy a car, and for buying a car or for buying a house, they have taken some loan from the banks. So every month the EMI means installments, goes out of their income. So if you are having a 1 lakh rupees per month income, say for example, if you have bought a good car, 30,000 rupees will be monthly installment which you will have to pay to the bank in form of for interest and for the principal amount for 5 years, 10 years, depending on the terms and condition of your loan. What I am trying to say is that on a regular basis, you make expenditure, there is a cash outflow that goes. So you have to keep in mind what are your inflows, what are your outflows. So normally the expenses of small amount which go out of hand and it's difficult to keep a track on them. If you are a poor financial planner, friends, my focus is that why I am focusing on the cash outflow, cash inflow, and in the subject of the financial planning, because you have to be smart. You have to be a smart financial planner. So if you don't keep a track on these small expenses, sometime it becomes difficult for you to manage those small expenses, right? Because money is going outflow is taking place on a day-to-day basis. Within a day also, many times these small expenses takes place. So what we emphasize is you keep a proper track on them. You keep a check on your day-to-day expenses. And the best exercise I would say is that prepare your budget, right? Write down what you have spent it during the month, during a week, during the day, whatever the possibilities are, right? Record those expenses. If you keep a record of those expenses, I'm sure that you will be able to keep a check on your regular outflows. So recording these transactions will help you to sum up your cash outflows. You will be able to know how much you have spent during the day, during the week, during the month, during the year. So recording is important. What are the factors now after talking of the meaning of the cash inflows and the heads of the cash inflows and the cash outflows? Now let me come to the point that what are the factors that affects our inflows, right? So cash inflows are being influenced by your career path. I will be talking of each of these points, right? Type of job, number of working people in your household. You can well understand that at what stage of your career path you are, that will also determine your cash inflow. As you progress in your life, as you improve your career path, as you become more and more experienced, the amount of salary, the amount of income that you generate also increases, barring other things constant. I am presuming that in a career path, as you become more and more experienced, as you grow, your skills are being enhanced, so will be your career path and so will be your inflows of income. Because at the initial stage, when you have just graduated, when you have just passed from your schooling in the college and higher education, right? After that, you will get a X amount of salary. As you get experience in that job, your skills improves, your amount of salary keeps on increasing. I'm generalizing it, right? So at what stage of career path you are, that will also determine your amount of inflows. As you become more and more experienced, normally the inflows also increases. I'm generalizing it, right? So as they grow and develop in their career, their salaries increases, allowances increases, their experience enable them to get other higher post jobs, because after a certain level of experience, you can apply for a higher level of job, and not only apply within the organization also, or in some other organization, you will get for the same number of hours you are putting in 10 hours or 8 hours or 12 hours a day. Earlier also, when you started your career, even at that time, you used to put 12 hours a day for your job. Now also you are putting, but for the job, because since you are more skilled, you have more experience, right? You can handle things in a better manner. Your inflows will increase, your salary will increase. So this normally has a direct correlation with your age. As age increases, your experience increases, your inflows also increases because of your job profile. See, the older you get, your salary structure and status improves. I've already explained it. Your cash inflow or your salary therefore depends upon your career and the stage of your career. Means if I divided broadly career in 3-4 categories, in the beginning, in the middle of your career, at the peak of your career, right? So a different career path, your inflows are being affected. As you improve on each of the ladder of your career path, certainly the inflows amount, when I am using the word inflows, it means income that is being generated will also increase. Your cash inflows are also being influenced by the type of job you are performing. I will start with an example. These days, I find that people who are in the IT industry, they are getting better paid as compared to the people in the manufacturing industry or other industry. Friends, I am generalizing it. There are exceptions everywhere. But if you see across, you will find, at present I am talking of, that people in the IT industry are well paid, as they are better paid, I would say rather, as compared to the many other jobs, right? So the type of job you are performing, the nature of the job you're performing, the type of skills that is required for the job, that will also determine your inflows. That because that will depend your salary level, that will depend on your income. That will affect your income, right? Suppose you are a businessman, and if you are producing a product that is very competitive, right, you are not able to generate extra profit out of it because it is a very competitive business, and every businessman will make normal profit. But if you are in a business which is a niche business, you produce something which is being produced by only a few manufacturers, or you are providing a services which is being provided by very few people, right? Then certainly your pricing power will be more, and as your pricing power will be more, so will be your more inflows, right? There are many professionals. There are doctors, I can say, who charges 500 rupees or 1000 rupees. There are doctors for providing same services. They are charging 3000, 2000, 2500 rupees. Their consultancy fees, depending on the type of skills they have, depending, same professionals, right? So what is the type of job, how much skills you have acquired, and whether the job is a professional job or whether the job is a routine job. People in the profession like architect, engineer, chartered accountants, doctors, lawyers, right? All the people who are in the specialized profession, they earn, their inflows are greater than those people who are working, who do not have specialized skills, who are working, doing a normal job, right? So what is the nature of the job, that will also determine your inflows. If you are self-employed, then your cash inflows will depend upon the hard work and the time, energy and dedication you put into your work, right? So I was giving the example of a chartered accountant. If you're a chartered accountant, you are ready to work for 12 hours, 14 hours a day, you are serving more clients. Certainly your cash inflows will be more as compared to a chartered accountant who said, with the same level of skills, I'm not ready to prepare more than 8 hours. So how much dedicated you are for your profession, how much hard work you put, how much energy you give to that business or the profession, that will also determine your cash inflows. Apart from these 2 points, the nature of the job and the nature of the skills, right, the number of working people in your household, that will also affect to a great extent your inflows. These days, especially in the young generation, both spouses, husband and wife works, right? So instead of one earner, your wife only works. In many parts of the country, it is a woman who works more than the male counterpart, right? If one of the members is earning, you will have X amount of income. If 2 of your members are earning, you will have 2x. Simple, right? So how many number of members are earning members are in your family, that will also determine your cash outflow. Especially in the young generation, both the husband and wife works, and in a particular age when your children grow up, right? In that age, your children also start earning. So if you have 2 children, husband and wife both are working, your children have also grown up, then in that age, even all the 4 members of the family are working. Certainly the inflows will be more. You will not be able to spend in the same proportion in which your income increases, right? So household cash inflows also depends upon the other earning members of the house. When I am using the word other, means how many number of members in the households are earning members. So obviously the households with more than one income earners will be more comfortable, and the total cash inflows will increase. Now, after talking of cash inflows, let me come to the cash outflows. So far I have talked about what are the different sources of cash inflows, and what are the important factors which affects your inflows. Inflows means your income, your monthly income or irregular income. Now I am talking of the factors which affects cash outflows. What are the factors which affect that? What is the amount of money you spend? The first point I've written here is family size. Family size means, as all of us know, that if the number of members are more in the family, and especially who are more consumers than the earners, certainly the amount of outflow will be more. You are a family of 2 persons or 3 persons, the expense will be less as compared to if you are a family of 6 or 7 members, right? So family size, the age of the family members, I would say, right, the stage of their life cycle will also affect their outflow, your expenditure. So if you are the only earning members and supporting the large family, then expense will be high. It also depends upon the number of school going. When I am using the word school going, which is also school and college going. So it also depends on how many, number of members are school going or the college going children you have, where high fees are to be paid. Expenditure on clothing, transport, etc. will be high. So as the dependent members are more, certainly the amount of expenditures, amount of outflows will be more, especially if you have more dependent people and if you have people in your family where in the cycle, in the life cycle of the stage, in the stage where they are getting education. So education these days have become expenses throughout the world. So for getting education also you spend a great outflow of your income, right? So it depends on the family size. Where the number of dependents are less, expenses are lower, so their household normally have a capacity to save. So smaller families, normally the tendency is it is being seen, and Prince, we are comparing with the same level of income. We are not comparing the families which has a larger income and as compared to the families which have a smaller income. If the given level of income is same, in that case, as the family sizes increases, so is the outflow of cash. It is also being, your cash outflow is also being affected by your age. When I am saying age, it means not only your age, but the age of your family members. As people grow older, their expense changes and they may tend to spend on assets like cars, house, lands, etc. See, why it so happens that as you become older, you tend to spend more on that. Because when I was talking of the inflows, I told you that as you improve your career path, as you get more and more experience, as your age increases, then your experience of the job increases, your salaries also increases. So when your salaries increases, your income increases, your business becomes established. Suppose I am a new entrepreneur, I start my business. After my college education, I start my career, right? And a self-employed person. So initial 5-10 years it will take to establish my venture. Initial 10 years I'll be, whatever I'll earn, I'll keep on a larger part of it, I'll be investing in the same business so that the business grows, so that the business expands. A level will come when I'll say that now I'm able to reasonably expand my business and now I can spend more on the other things. That is, instead of reinvesting whatever I earn in the business, in my business itself, if I'm a entrepreneur and I'm the sole proprietorship firms, then I can say now I can buy a big car, I can buy a big house, I can buy land, right? So as the age increases, your income inflows become established and you're able to save a minimum amount of money, which what is minimum I cannot define it, but reasonable by your standards. That but a normal person, if you have this much money, which is we call it emergency fund, that if any exigency arises, any emergency arises, I'll be able to use this money and able to bear that expense. So once I'm able to save that much by controlling my outflows, right, then after that, an individual tends to spend more on cars, houses, lands, etc. Means in the real estate or on these white goods, I can say. So as age improves, your expenditure on these items increases. So their expenditure on school tuition fees, household items decreases and they have more cash to spare for purchasing a house or a car or going to vacation abroad, right? I just remember when I started my career, I used to go for a outing, for a vacation within the country itself, right? Nearby areas where my expenditure used to be less. But after age, after getting a particular income level, right, you tend to spend more on vacation. When you think of going abroad and spending more on it, right? So depending on the age level, your outflows increases, and then they may still have some money to spare for investing. Your outflow also depends on your personal consumption pattern. You might have come across people who spends on extravaganzas, who spends very lavishly, right? So people who spends on on these luxuries, they tends to their outflow is larger, right, than individuals who have a habit of savings, who tries to save more, right. So it all depends on your consumption pattern. Middle class families usually spend their money in the beginning of the month and they are left with little to save. Depending on the level of income, if you're a lower middle class income person, normally a large part of your income is being spent in the initial period of the month, because you tends to buy the groceries for all the month, or many of the utilities, your electricity bill, water bill, your other expenses, your fixed expenses are being spent in the beginning of the month itself, right. Not only this, but it also depends on your personal consumption pattern. Then there are some people who are always saving for some contingency or some dream house they want to buy, right. What is your consumption pattern? So it is being connected with your expenditure habits, I can say behavior. So there are some people who are always saving for some contingency or some dream house they want to buy. Their expenditure is the bare minimum, but their savings are large. So what I am trying to say by this is, your cash outflow is being also affected by your consumption pattern. Not only is being affected by your age, by your type of profession you are in, type of business you are in, right? But it also affected by your nature, your cash, what is your consumption pattern. So cash flows will therefore depend upon the consumption behavior. Saving will depend upon a family's individual consumption pattern and spending. Consumption pattern is also affected by the amount you have to spend, right? So it all depends on the cash inflows and the cash outflows. Cash inflows and outflows are being affected by the various factors we have just discussed. So I'll continue this lecture in my next lecture on the financial planning, financial discipline. Thank you very much.